Greetings, everyone, from the future, and welcome to Umbra's talk about Transcendence. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I don't like the Transcendence system for a lot of different reasons. A lot of different reasons that we're going to get into in this video. Now, Transcendence, however, is not entirely bad, but I feel like I've had enough experience with it to talk about a general review in this video. And for people who are looking for tutorials and everything, I've made those videos. Check them out. They are under reincarnation. For people who don't know, the JP system is called reincarnation, as you can see right there. So yes, for people who are wondering about that one, yeah, JP just goes by this name. So this is JP. For people who don't know, here, we'll just put this on here. Transcendence? Transcendence? I would love it more if it was a dance. But talking about this is a system to essentially upgrade characters beyond level 120 for all rarities. And characters will arrive in batch. Currently on JP, there's quite a few. And for me, a JP player, you can see right up to how many I have done at this point. Now, in terms of a system, for URs, incredibly expensive, not only in terms of in-game resources, but also in terms of real-world resources. In terms of lower-tier characters, such as Severo here, and to a lesser extent, Lucio, this system is a little bit better and actually kind of fun in certain aspects, but not in others. So, for a starter, let's take a look at Lucio. And the reason that I'm starting with Lucio as an example is mainly because this is the most free-to-play friendly character that you're going to ever see in this system. Like, it's not even questionable. All you have to do is some quests related to another story, and you can essentially get this character for free. He has his own special type of horn and everything. As you can see, I've put in a lot of work into maxing this character out and had pretty good results with him. Now, I'm not going to say that he's the best, but pretty good. So, really quickly, the reason I want to get Lucio out of the way is because he is actually like fairly cheap to upgrade. So, a lot of people will be able to upgrade this character and enjoy, because orbs are farmable and you just need awakening resources, and this is essentially as cheap as it's going to get. So for people who don't know how the reincarnation/transcendence system works, this is essentially how. Start off basically at level 121 after upgrading a character into the system, and then you go through this process of re-rolling stats. Now, JP has had an update to make it a little bit better to play. Essentially, you click this button right down here. If not, then it's just however many levels you want to try. But this actually just makes it so that, system will stop when you get these 3 stars. What are these 3 stars? Well, these are permanent additions. Basically, the way the Transcendence system works, as you go up to 140, you get more and more of these yellow stats, but these yellow stats are not permanent. They are temporary. But getting a yellow star in a specific category will turn some into permanent green bard. So as you can see here, took 14 out of 20 this time. Let's do it again. Why not? Another 20 orbs. Here we go. Up to 42. A good number for my Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy fans. And it can take anywhere from up to the full max 20 all the way down. And as you can see, we have a good number of stars in certain categories. 52 stars have already been dedicated to HP, 3 to TP, and just a variety across the entire board. And you may be wondering, or this just saying, hey, Umbra, which is weird because I can't hear you. Is this just RNG? And yes, dear viewer, this is basically an RNG system. Where these stars end up is totally up to this just luck of the draw. And before you say it, no, this isn't particularly all that fun. It's particularly very grindy in the sense of having to just keep hitting the slot machine again and again and again. And I'm not going to defend this. I don't really like this system, as it's fairly time consuming to do this multiple times. Now, on average, I've said it would take probably about 82, because sometimes someone's going to get really lucky and be able to upgrade this with very little effort. And to those people, you suck. Just because it is, for most people, it's probably going to take closer to about 100 reincarnations to get the full amount of stars and stats. Now, as you can see, for instance, in evasion for Lucio, our evasion stat is actually maxed out for stars already, whereas there's a ton more that can potentially go into HP. So what this system essentially works out to is a stat and ability booster. You will get certain abilities and bonuses for going all the way up. The only way to make sure, for instance, that you get all the benefits is by going up to 140. So this is the best this current Lucio could be, but everybody's Lucio will be a little bit different along the way to 100 reincarnation. As you can see, even with one of the most free-to-play friendly characters in the game for the Transcendence system, well, it's only so far, and that comes down to a lot of different things that we're going to talk about in a second. But hey, you might be saying, Umbra, I want to take a character 140. Well, what do you need? Well, one of the big things is the character needs to be at level 120. That does not mean that they necessarily need to have all the way to their job level 25 ability unlocked. It does mean that they need all of their level spots unlocked. So for instance, up to here and up to here would be the theoretical least that you could do to upgrade this. And as you can see here, but well, we have this done for this character. Next, the character actually needs to be at level 120. If they're level 119, sorry, no, tough luck. As for what you need to actually take a character into it, well, the most important thing and the most rare thing are the antlers, or horns as I like to call them. These horns are incredibly rare. Spending money, real world money in the game, will give you some net opportunities to get a bunch of these, but that's where one of the big separations will be with UR characters. These are incredibly rare still on JP, with very little opportunity to actually be able to get them. Now, JP has said that they are going to increase the amount that players will be able to access for free, but that hasn't happened on JP yet. Not to any significant amount. So for people who are curious, be very, very careful as to where you spend these and on which characters. For people who are mid-tier spenders even, I would still recommend a whole bunch of caution. Getting every element to 140 is a fool's errand sent by silly whales, so you should not do that at all. But yes, for people who are curious, this is one of the more important things. We'll also need a hefty amount of UR orbs. Again, not necessarily a problem for whales, but some lower tier players may find this a little bit negating or gating factor. Well, and you'll need 120 orbs. But hey, guess what? They don't have to only be character orbs, and we will show this. One of the actually only net positives I can really say is that they did effectively make a way for people to get essentially a orb that works for every character, limited or not limited, using any character that has gotten up to level 120. You can convert these. So for very low tier characters, it's 100 to 1 for UR. And this scales better as you actually go into lower tier rarity orb. The 5 to 1, which, hey, look, we could get 980. Not going to, but we could. So you are definitely the most valuable. But in terms of actual scalability of how much you'll be able to get out of the system, remember that you are running these orbs at a net loss a lot of the time. And you will have to determine really whether or not it is actually valuable. Killing all of your orbs for a specific character, at least a limited character like Sephiroth, is not necessarily a bad idea, as it cuts down on the cost of these orbs that you cannot get outside. And you can use this for the re-rolling that we were showing with Lucio. But the simple fact here is that you should be very careful as to how much you're just immediately chucking into the void, because here you can look at just killing a ton of stuff and then find out later that maybe it wasn't the best investment. You've turned a lot into a little and not even gotten good investment. So be careful is one of the things that I want to say. Now, checking out just some lower tier characters. For instance, let's go down and take a look. I want to say that I have a 120 lower cost character. I have to think quickly. Perfect. Silma, as you can see, this is where the costs start dropping a little bit. Obviously, these orbs are not as difficult to get. These are actually easier to get than UR ones, and Silma's orbs, you can see only 60. So you can see that there is a cost reduction from UR to SSR. And this brings me to a key point in this video of telling you that SSRs and lower tier rarity units are probably the overall beneficial ones, especially with the number of limited cost events that happen in the future. Investments into lower tier characters end up paying more dividends with this system because they start getting stats that are closer to URs, and re-rolling URs, except for whales and incredibly high, spending players, just doesn't end up really working out, as you need a massive amount of scrolls and other resources that we'll talk about in a second. Jumping over, here is the more recent side on the JP of where you actually end up getting UR antlers. For instance, on JP this week, there was just nothing for free. 2,000 free lapis will get you 1 UR horn, and as you can see, 500 lapis will get you 20 scrolls, which is a single reroll for a UR. But if we scroll down into a lower tier, as soon as I can find where the heck they are. Shoot, they might not actually be. Oh, well, guess we'll just have to jump over to the other spot. There have been times in the shop where they do have the lower tier rarity scrolls as well as antlers in those shops, and they have been at a much lower cost for lapis. But unfortunately, for the sake of this video at the time of recording, they're not here. So let me present you another option. Here is the other place that you can potentially get antlers from. 500 and 200 a piece is incredibly expensive for URs, in my opinion, since you'll still be looking to pad this out with getting the actual character orbs that you need to get to 120 in the first place, which is not particularly the easiest thing. However, in terms of the lower rarity units, as you can see, you can pick these up for considerably cheaper and make better use of the scrolls. So this is a particularly pretty good place to get all of this, and it does refresh over time. So for lower rarity units, this is where I think the Transcendence system is generally better. And let's just add that to our word pad here. So there you go. That is a little bit more of the summary. So let's take a really quick look at upgrading a lower tier unit such as Severo, who is one of the characters that, again, I have spent more time into upgrading this character, and as you can see, the benefits to it are not terribly bad. The amount of stats that you get are proportionally way more important for a lower rarity unit. And we also get other benefits such as magic attack up, as well as the general improvement of one ability here. So you can see that Severo has ended up quite strong. We have a lot of different resources, and the amount of orbs that we need is considerably low. We can just end up doing this. 42 extra HP for a low HP unit is pretty substantial. And as you can see, our RNG has paid off a little bit more as we get a nice boost into accuracy as well as magic. It's not going to be a huge night and day difference for characters. 120, a team of 120s could win theoretically against a team of 140s, but the extra stats do make a little bit more likely that the 140 will win. So that is a consideration. But as you can see, there is something else to talk about here, which is just generally the cost of this system. And I don't even mean getting antlers and scrolls to upgrade, but talking about just upgrading these characters. 20 character orbs or 20 of the rainbow orbs is pretty expensive to begin with, but as you can see, you need 20 of the awakening resources for each, which again, trying to keep up with newer characters will eventually deplete your resources even more, especially if you are going all in on a specific element. But it's not just that. You do need also EXP cubes as well as these element, and as you can see, 46, 18, and 20 is the number you need for all of these, but a big consideration is the job points. It takes for level 20 a total of 14,000 job points, which I'm certain a bunch of you have a lot of job points saved up on characters that you use a lot that you would probably want to reincarnate in the first place. Thing is that, again, consider the fact that on average, and I mean on a soft average, 85 reincarnations is what you would need for any character. So taking a look at this, just at the number of job points, let's not even think about this as we're going to do this as a generally fair estimation. And I actually do have a digital calculator up. Let's take into account that, sure, right now, 14,000 job points is not always what it's going to be. A lot of the times it goes up to 20, but sometimes you go at your 17s, your 9s. So let's take an average of 50. How many job points do we need for level 50 to say the average? 7,700. Sorry. And then let's times it by our 85. The amount of job points you would approximately need for a single character is about 654,000, roughly. Keep in mind that these are just rough estimates. Now, talking about, again, the number of elemental resources, which have never been a burden up to this point, but may end up disappearing faster than you think, especially focusing on a single character. So let's do that and times that by 85. So elementals, we're going to need 2,295. By the way, we should mention this is per character. If I can spell. So 2295 elemental things. For people who don't know what I'm talking about really quickly, it's these right here on the left, which again are not that rare, but for simplicity's sake. Now, EXP cubes, you can do the math quite simple. I don't think that one is particularly that bad, but for people who are in the interest of doing this, a total of 20 times 850 is approximately 17,000. I do believe I did the math on that right. Oh, no, that's 850. I am off by a 0. And awakening mats, while some people may not consider them, I find them to be a little bit limiting. So just to throw it in there, you'll need 1700 as well. And again, one of the things that I want to highlight is that I think that given that there are 8 different elements in the game, most players will not even remotely be able to do this. I, as a person who is even a mid-tier spender, getting a compulsory extra amount, probably 3 extra UR horns, really didn't make that many 140s and have been very, very choosy. As you can see, these are the ones that I have upgraded to 140. And this is over the course of 4 different, or over 4 months on JP. I really haven't upgraded that much, and I really have been very, very careful about higher tier unit specific elements, looking for synergies as well as what I consider to be very strong. So, if there is something to remember, the Transcendence cost of actually upgrading a character can be quite high. To finish a character off, you'll essentially need an average of about probably 85 reincarnations, and that is being fairly generous with the actual numbers. If you were to be incredibly unlucky with a character constantly taking more 20s than lower numbers, you'd probably be looking at a much higher total overall. Now, if I've made any mistakes in this, I will gladly change this video and redo this video, but I think it stands about how high the cost of this reincarnation system is. And it doesn't mean that you can't be successful in a reincarnation world. Most players will not have whale tier stats. This is a system to exploit whales into spending way more money than they should need to play this game. And for them, I mean, if they watch this video and go harumph, well, best of luck spending a ton of money. Great, you're keeping the game alive, I guess, whether it deserves to or not. But for other players, the reincarnation system, in my opinion, is very valuable on lower tier characters, and for players who are looking to get the most out of reincarnation/transcendence. This next section is for you. For people looking to get the most out of reincarnation, my recommendation is mid-tier spenders will probably be able to choose multiple different elements. I would say about 4. Whales may be able to support all 8, but even that is incredibly expensive. As for lower tier free to players, you'll have probably a good luck doing a lot of lower tier rarity characters such as Nasha, Rebiel, or Lucio, who will be much more free to play friendly as well as lower tier and benefit from really trying harder on limited cost events in the game, such as class match or limited guild battle. But even then, whales have such a distinct advantage because of this system that it will widen the gap into what power level is capable of. And for whales, it's either a do or die kind of thing, because other whales will probably upgrade, meaning that they need to upgrade. But you can get quite a lot out of this system by just upgrading specific lower limited costs, but also the days of, all teams at 120 for all elements is still generally pretty good enough on JP for, PvE events. But trying to do 140s, full teams in all elements 4 months down the line on JP without spending a ton of real world money is just basically impossible and cannot be done. So to save yourself some frustration, dear viewer, just don't do it. What you want to do is to just pick 4 elements, and you have the advantage. You know, Hyo is coming out for fire, you know, Yuffie's for fire, you know, Sephiroth's for dark, King Bradley's for earth. You can make this decision and plan ahead much better than JP has. But you are going to have to make some decisions about what ends up on the cutting room floor for which elements you really truly want to play in this game. And I think that if you choose 4 diverse elements that have some synergies across from elemental synergies such as fire and thunder, ice and water, light and dark, and potentially earth and wind, although I don't know where that synergy is, but there are some synergies. Look into them, decide where you really want to upgrade, especially your URs, because West Global ends up being a hell of a lot, and I really stress that a ton, a hell of a lot more generous than JP has been to. You're gonna find the future very limited for people who just don't want to spend. But anyway, that has been my Transcendence video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Go check out previous videos if you have questions about batches and which units are good. And thank you so much for watching.